Of course, Douglas McCarthy was the lead singer of Nitzer, who was the voice of a generation, and it's almost really hard to quantify his impact on dance community and industrial music and EBM music. It's almost without saying, but there's some people when they pass away, things become a little bit more in perspective, and I'm sure and I'm confident that there's a lot of people that their art doesn't necessarily get the full due until they've passed on, or a long time after they pass on. You think of like people like Van Gogh, or people that did amazing work, and I mean Douglas McCarthy was the voice of a generation. He was the voice of a sound. He was the lead singer in a very powerful and impactful band that really, it's really hard to put into words how much they mean to the people that listen to them and also enjoyed their concerts. As you get older, you come across doing these type of tributes, and people pass away more people pass away as you get older, and that's kind of the sad thing about getting old. And I think when you think about it, like that's the only thing that makes me feel old is when people pass away. I don't feel old in my everyday life, even when my back hurts, or I see my gray hairs coming in, or I think about how I got into Nitzer over 35 years ago or close to 40 years ago. It doesn't make me feel old. It's only when people pass away that I feel old, and when I think about the memories of of that person, or whatever it is that is no longer. And with Nitzer, I just feel a shock, but I also feel really saddened that for future generations, and anybody who didn't get to see them live. When I think of Douglas McCarthy, and his voice was he, when and his stage presence, really, I mean, he didn't necessarily sing. He commanded you. He directed you to, and I wouldn't say in a militant way, because it was different. It was he had the charisma, he had the personality to be very engaging and be very direct, but also be a mystical figure, and sort of a figurehead, and but also sort of have I mean, really, it's the charisma to not only to make it work, but to make it enjoyable and make it cool. Like him on stage, I mean, he was very stoic, but at the same time, he would let loose and dance and groove and get the crowd into it, and it was just such a engaging front man, and really somebody who got you into it when you were at his concerts. And the first time I got to see him, like a lot of people probably first got to know Knights Rev, was through, especially in America, them opening up for Depeche Mode in 1990. I saw them at Dodger Stadium in August 4th, 1990, and it was electronic. And then, but of course, before that was Knights Rev, and then closing out, of course, was Depeche Mode. And that was, I had heard of the band, I saw their logos, but I didn't really get into them quite yet. And when I saw them on band, I saw them on stage and heard their music. It was almost like I couldn't compute what I was seeing. I couldn't really uh, understand what I was seeing. Like they were, I really hadn't seen somebody go crazy on the drums like that, and like because I was really into electronic music heavy by the time I was 14 years old. Like, and so when I saw somebody do an electronic sounding um, rhythm section, or sound, and they were doing on real drums, that kind of threw me for a loop, because I was like, I expected to hear like drum machines and keyboards and stuff like that, and they just got out on a couple drums, and each drummer, and then Douglas McCarthy was out just directing people, and you could just see in the crowd, especially because it was an American crowd, you could see who was kind of getting it and who really wasn't getting it, and then you saw people like me who was like, what am I witnessing? Like, I don't, I almost couldn't understand the groove, and when I was 14, I was getting into, I was getting into industrial the last couple of years, probably with Skinny Puppy and Frenchy 42 just a couple of years before this. But I really wasn't understanding the groove that Nitzer was able to create. When you think of their iconic tracks like Let Your Body Learn and Join in the Chant and Murderous and Warsaw Ghetto, their early stuff was just so much groove, and you can see their impact and they crossed over into electronic music, which was fantastic. And sure, them and Frenchy 42 are, and a few other bands are the tie from dance music and electronic music into industrial music. And I'm a firm believer that if you want to understand techno and you want to understand um, the groove inside of electronic music best, is having a good understanding of EBM music and industrial, and no other band sort of could do that for you like Nitzer. We were lucky growing up in the 80s and hear bands that tied both together so well, and nowadays there's so many bands out there, it's almost, you're getting pieces of maybe some bands do some things well, and some do things others do other things well as well, also. But Nights of Red was just like the embodiment of electronic dance music and industrial. Like they just blended the two so well. One of the last concerts I got a chance to see before the pandemic happened in 2020 was going to see Nights of in 2019 here in Philadelphia. And there's some bands that you go to, and it's kind of like you have to, or they're coming back around again. You won't see them for a couple of years. You might as well go see them, stuff like that. And there was a little bit of that with me with Nights of, but when I saw them in concert, it really got me so much back into their music like I hadn't expected. And some of the best bands, Skinny Puppy being one, is they just rejuvenate and recapture your interest in their music again, like it was for the first time. Some of the best bands can do that live, and I was so happy that I got a chance to see that, to go to that concert, especially with my brother. And I came back from the merch stand and both picked us up both shirt. Of course, I'm wearing that shirt today, and it was sort of like it was a. I also got to see Daniel Meyer there as well, who's an acquaintance, and also I got to see Randy from Linderman from Dead Milkman, and got a chance to say hi to him as well. He's a big Nights Red fan too, so that was cool. Also because I had just seen Dead Milkman a couple years before and got a really cool picture with him, and so I was able to see a couple heroes of mine. Of course, Daniel Meyer opened up for Nights Red as well that night, and it was such a great night, as in totality. But it was just so cool. It was like putting especially now, considering that Douglas McCarthy passed on, it's really, I'm so glad I got a chance to see them, and especially him in one of their last tours in America. And that just goes to show you, like, when these bands come around and they're getting into their 50s and 60s, and who knows, they might pass on early. Just don't have any regrets. Just go see them. And that I think of this passing, and my experience with Nights as a band, it definitely reassures me that, or reminds me that I need to go see these bands when they come through, because they're just really important to me. As I've recently seen some comments on social media that some of the members like Bon and David, and they're gonna continue to tour and in tribute and respect Douglas McCarthy and still do shows coming up, and I think that's a good decision, and I really wish them all the best with their tour and their festivals that they're playing, and the people that go there and celebrate Douglas McCarthy and their history. I'm sure those will be some amazing concerts, and it'll be very, very meaningful for everybody involved to go see them. And so I wish them nothing but the best. I'm not the best, most Wordsworth person when it comes to getting out my feelings, but I did want to read something that a tribute that Sven Vaith, the DJ and techno artist, said about Douglas McCarthy, and I think he said it the best. So I just wanted to read what he wrote. He said, "Let your body learn wasn't just a slogan; it was a command, and we all learned how to dance. We all learned how to let go. We all learned how to resist." Douglas McCarthy, a fierce voice, honest, unforgettable.